Alrighty then. Shall we start? There we go. So will be the last 3 cantos of Inferno. And we'll see when we start the next book. Alright, Canto 32. The Ninth Circle, Traitors. The Frozen Lake of Cocytus. First Division, Cana, traitors to their kindred, XXXII. Second Division, and Tenora, traitors to their country. Dante questions degli Abati, Busso da Duera. Yeah. If I had rhymes both rough and stridulous, as were appropriate to the dismal hole down upon which thrust all the other rocks, I would press out the juice of my conception more fully, but because I have them not without fear I bring myself to speak. For 'tis no enterprise to take in jest to sketch the bottom of all the universe, nor for a tongue that cries Mama and Babo. But may those ladies help this verse of mine, who helped Amphion in enclosing Thebes, that from the fact the word be not diverse. O rabble ill-begotten above all, who are in the place to speak of which is hard, 'twere better ye had here been sheep or goats. When we were down within the darksome well, beneath the giant's feet but lower far, and I was scanning still the lofty wall, I heard it said to me, Look how thou steppest, take heed thou do not trample with thy feet the heads of the tired, miserable brothers. Whereat I turned me round, and saw before me and underfoot a lake, that from the frost the semblance had of glass, and not of water. So thick a veil never made upon its current, in winter time Danube in Austria, nor there beneath the frigid sky the dawn, as there was here, so that if Tambernic had fallen upon it, or Pietrapana, even at the edge 'twould not have given a creak. And as to croak, the frog doth place himself with muzzle out of water, when it is dreaming of gleaning, oftentimes the peasant girl, livid, as far down as where shame appears, where the disconsolate shades within the ice, setting their teeth unto the note of storks. Each one his countenance held downward bent, from mouth the cold, from eyes the doleful heart among them witness of itself procures. When round about me somewhat I had looked, I downward turned me, and saw two so close, the hair upon their heads together mingled. Ye who so strain your breasts together, tell me, I said, who are you? And they bent their necks, and when to me their faces they had lifted, their eyes, which first were only moist within, gushed over the eyelids, and frost congealed the tears between, and locked them up again. Clamp never bound together wood with wood so strongly, whereat they, like two he-goats, butted together, so much wrath overcame them. And one, who had by reason of the cold lost both his ears, still with his visage downward, said, Why dost thou so mirror thyself in us? If thou desire to know who these two are, the valley whence Byzanzio descends belonged to them and to their father Albert. They from one body came, and all Cana thou shalt search through, and shalt not find a shade more worthy to be fixed in gelatin. Not he in whom were broken breast, and shadow at one in the same blow by Arthur's hand. Phocasia not he who me encumbers, so with his head I see no farther forward, and bore the name of Sassel Mascheroni. Well knowest thou who he was, if thou art Tuscan, and that thou put me not to further speech. Know that I, Camicon de Pazzi, was, and wait Carlino to exonerate me. Then I beheld 1,000 faces, made purple with cold, whence over me comes a shudder, and evermore will come at frozen ponds. And while we were advancing towards the middle, where everything of weight unites together, and I was shivering in the eternal shade. Whether 'twere will, or destiny, or chance, I know not, but in walking among the heads I struck my foot hard in the face of one. Weeping he growled, "Why dost thou trample me? Unless thou comest to increase the vengeance of Monteperde, why dost thou molest me?" And I, "My master, now wait here for me, that I through him may issue from a doubt, then thou mayest hurry me, as thou shalt wish." The leader stopped, and to that one I said, who was blaspheming vehemently still, "Who art thou, that thus reprehendest others? Now who art thou, that goest through Antenora, smiting," replied he, "other people's cheeks, so that, if thou wert living, 'twere too much?" "Living I am, and dear to thee it may be," was my response, "if thou demandest fame, that mid the other notes thy name I place." And he to me, "For the reverse I long. Take thyself hence, and give me no more trouble, for ill thou knowest to flatter in this hollow." Then by the scalp behind I seized upon him, and said, "It must needs be thou name thyself, or not a hair remain upon thee here." Whence he to me, "Though thou strip off my hair, I will not tell thee who I am, nor show thee, if on my head 1,000 times thou fall." I had his hair in hand already twisted, and more than one shock of it had pulled out, he barking with his eyes held firmly down, when cried another, "What doth ail thee, Bacca? It's not enough to clatter with thy jaws, but thou must bark. What devil touches thee?" "Now," said I care not to have thee speak, accursed traitor, for unto thy shame I will report of thee veracious news." "Begone," replied he, "and tell what thou wilt, but be not silent, if thou issue hence, of him who had just now his tongue so prompt. He weepeth here the silver of the French. I saw, thus canst thou phrase it, him of Duera, there where the sinners stand out in the cold. If thou shouldest questioned be who else was there, thou hast beside thee him of Beccaria, of whom the gorget Florence slid asunder. Gianni del Soldanier, I think, may be yonder with Ginellan and Tibaldello, who oped Faenza when the people slept." Already we had gone away from him, when I beheld two frozen in one hole, so that one head a hood was to the other. And even as bread through hunger is devoured, the uppermost on the other set his teeth, there where the brain is to the nape united. Not in another fashion Titius gnawed the temples of Menalippus in disdain, than that one did the skull and other things. O thou, who showest by such bestial sign thy hatred against him whom thou art eating, tell me the wherefore, said I, with this compact, that if thou rightfully of him complain, in knowing who ye are, and his transgression, I in the world above repay thee for it, if that wherewith I speak be not dried up. Canto 33. Count Ugolino and the Archbishop Ruggieri, the death of Count Ugolino's sons, third division of the 9th circle, Ptolemaea, traitors to their friends, Friar Alberigo Branco d'Oria. His mouth uplifted from his grim repast, that sinner, wiping it upon the hair of the same head that he behind had wasted. Then he began, Thou wilt that I renew the desperate grief which wrings my heart already, to think of only ere I speak of it. But in my words be seed that may bear fruit of infamy to the traitor whom I gnaw. Speaking and weeping shalt thou see together. I know not who thou art, nor by what mode thou hast come down here, but a Florentine thou seemest to me truly, when I hear thee. Thou hast to know I was Count Ugolino, and this one was Ruggieri, the archbishop. Now I will tell thee why I am such a neighbor. That, by effect of his malicious thoughts, trusting in him I was made prisoner, and after put to death, I need not say. But nevertheless, what thou canst not have heard, that is to say, how cruel was my death, here shalt thou, and shalt know if he has wronged me. A narrow perforation in the mew, which bears because of me the title of famine, and in which others still must be locked up, had shown me through its opening many moons already, when I dreamed the evil dream which of the future rent for me the veil. This one appeared to me as lord and master, hunting the wolf and whelps upon the mountain for which the peasants can not Luca see. With sleuth-hounds gaunt and eager and well-trained, Gulandi with Sismondi and Lanfianchi, he had sent out before him to the front. After brief course seemed unto me forspent the father and the sons, and with sharp tushes it seemed to me I saw their flanks ripped open. When I before the morrow was awake, moaning amid their sleep, I heard my sons, who with me were, and asking after bread. Cruel indeed art thou, if yet thou grieve not, thinking of what my heart foreboded me, and weepest thou not, what art thou wont to weep at? They were awake now, and the hour drew nigh at which our food used to be brought to us, and through his dream was each one apprehensive. And I heard locking up the under door of the horrible tower, whereat without a word I gazed into the faces of my sons. I wept not, I within so turned to stone. They wept, and darling little Anselm mine said, Thou dost gaze so, father, what doth ail thee? Still not a tear I shed, nor answer made all of that day, nor yet the night thereafter, until another sun rose on the world. As now a little glimmer made its way into the dolorous prison, and I saw upon four faces my own very aspect. Both of my hands in agony I bit, and, thinking that I did it from desire of eating, on a sudden they uprose. And said they, Father, much less pain 'twill give us if thou do eat of us. Thyself didst clothe us with this poor flesh, and do thou strip it off. I calmed me then, not to make them more sad. That day we all were silent, and the next, obdurate earth, wherefore didst thou not open? When we had come unto the fourth day, Gatto threw himself down outstretched before my feet, saying, My father, why dost thou not help me? And there he died, and, as thou seest me, I saw the three fall, one by one, between the fifth day and the sixth, whence I betook me, already blind, to groping over each, and 3 days called them after they were dead. Then hunger did what sorrow could not do. When he had said this, with his eyes distorted, the wretched skull resumed he with his teeth, which as a dog's upon the bone were strong. Ah, Pisa, thou opprobrium of the people, of the fair land where the sea doth sound, since slow to punish thee thy neighbors are. Let the Capreia and Gorgona move, and make a hedge across the mouth of Arno, that every person in thee it may drown. For if Count Ugolino had the fame of having in thy castles thee betrayed, thou shouldest not on such cross have put his sons. Guiltless of any crime, thou modern Thebes, their youth made Uguccione and Brigada, and the other two my song doth name above. We pass still farther onward, where the ice another people ruggedly enswathes, not downward turned, but all of them reversed. Weeping itself there does not let them weep, and grief that finds a barrier in the eyes turns itself inward to increase the anguish. Because the earliest tears a cluster form, and, in the manner of a crystal visor, fill all the cups beneath the eyebrow full. And notwithstanding that, as in a callus, because of cold all sensibility its stations had abandoned in my face, still it appeared to me I felt some wind, whence I, My master, who sets this in motion? Is not below here every vapor quenched? Whence he to me, full soon shalt thou be where thine eyes shall answer make to thee of this, seeing the cause which raineth down the blast. And one of the wretches of the frozen crust cried out to us, O souls so merciless that the last post is given unto you, lift from mine eyes the rigid veils, that I may vent the sorrow which impregnates my heart a little, ever the weeping recongeal. Whence I to him, if thou wouldest have me help thee, say who thou wast, and if I free thee not, may I go to the bottom of the ice. Then he replied, I am Friar Alberigo. He am I of the fruit of the bad garden, who here a date am getting for my fig. Oh, said I to him, now art thou, too, dead? And he to me, how may my body fare up in the world? No knowledge I possess. Such an advantage has this Ptolemy, that oftentimes the soul descendeth here sooner than Atropos in motion sets it. And, that thou mayest more willingly remove from off my countenance these glassy tears, know that as soon as any soul betrays, as I have done, his body by a demon is taken from him, who thereafter rules it, until his time has wholly been revolved. Itself down rushes into such a cistern, and still perchance above appears the body of yonder shade that winters here behind me. This thou shouldest know, if thou hast just come down. It is Sir Branca d'Oria, and many years have passed away since he was thus locked up. I think, said I to him, thou dost deceive me, for Branca d'Oria is not dead as yet, and eats, and drinks, and sleeps, and puts on clothes. In moat above, said he, of Malebranche, there where is boiling the tenacious pitch, as yet had Michael Zance not arrived. When this one left the devil in his stead, in his own body and one near of kin, who made together with him the betrayal. But hitherward stretch out thy hand forthwith, open mine eyes, and open them I did not, and to be rude to him was courtesy. Ah, Genoese, ye men at variance with every virtue, full of every vice, wherefore are ye not scattered from the world? For with the vilest spirit of Romagna, I found of you one such, who for his deeds and soul already in Cocytus bathes, and still above in body seems alive. Canto 34. Fourth division of the ninth circle, the Judeca, traitors to their lords and benefactors, Lucifer, Judas Iscariot, Brutus, and Cassius, the chasm of Lethe, the ascent. Vexilla regis produnt inferni. Towards us, therefore, look in front of thee, my master said, if thou discernest him. As, when there breathes a heavy fog, or when our hemisphere is darkening into night, appears far off a mill the wind is turning. Methought that such a building then I saw, and, for the wind, I drew myself behind my guide, because there was no other shelter. Now was I, and with fear in verse I put it, there where the shades were wholly covered up, and glimmered through like unto straws and glass. Some prone or lying, others stand erect, this with the head, and that one with the soles, another, bow-like, face to feet inverts. When it advanced, so far we had proceeded, that it my master pleased to show to me the creature who once had the beauteous semblance. He from before me moved and made me stop, saying, Behold Dis, and behold the place where thou with fortitude must arm thyself. How frozen I became and powerless then. Ask it not, reader, for I write it not, because all language would be insufficient. I did not die, and I alive remained not. Think for thyself now, hast thou aught of wit, what I became, being of both deprived? The emperor of the kingdom dolorous, from his mid-breast forth issued from the ice, and better with a giant I compare. Then do the giants with those arms of his, consider now how great must be that whole. which unto such a part conforms itself. Were he as fair once, as he now is foul, and lifted up his brow against his Maker, well may proceed from him all tribulation. Oh, what a marvel it appeared to me, when I beheld 3 faces on his head, the one in front, and that vermilion was. 2 were the others, that were joined with this above the middle part of either shoulder, and they were joined together at the crest. In the right hand one seemed twixt white and yellow, the left was such to look upon as those, who come from where the Nile falls valleyward. Underneath each came forth 2 mighty wings, such as befitting were so great a bird. Sails of the sea I never saw so large. No feathers had they, but as of a bat their fashion was, and he was waving them, so that 3 winds proceeded forth therefrom. Thereby Cocytus wholly was congealed. With 6 eyes did he weep, and down 3 chins trickled the teardrops in the bloody drivel. At each mouth he with his teeth was crunching a sinner, in the manner of a brake, so that he 3 of them tormented thus. To him in front the biting was as naught unto the clawing, for sometimes the spine utterly stripped of all the skin remained. That soul up there which has the greatest pain, the master said, is Judas Iscariot. With head inside, he plies his legs without. Of the 2 others, who head downward are, the one who hangs from the black jowl is Brutus. See how he writhes himself, and speaks no word. And the other, who so stalwart seems, is Cassius. But night is reascending, and 'tis time that we depart, for we have seen the whole. As seemed him good, I clasped him round the neck, and he the vantage seized of time and place, and when the wings were opened wide apart, he laid fast hold upon the shaggy sides, from fell to fell descended downward then between the thick hair and the frozen crust. When we were come to where the thigh revolves, exactly on the thickness of the haunch, the guide, with labor and with hard-drawn breath, turned round his head where he had his legs, and grappled to the hair, as one who mounts, so that to hell I thought we were returning. Keep fast thy hold, for by such stairs as these, the master said, panting as one fatigued, must we perforce depart from so much evil. Then through the opening of a rock he issued, and down upon the margin seated me. Then towards me he outstretched his wary step. I lifted up mine eyes and thought to see Lucifer in the same way I had left him, and I beheld him upward hold his legs. And if I then became disquieted, let stolid people think who do not see what the point is beyond which I had passed. Rise up, the master said, upon thy feet. The way is long and difficult the road, and now the sun so middle tierce returns. It was not any palace corridor there where we were, but dungeon natural, with floor uneven and unease of light. Ere from the abyss I tear myself away, my master, said I, when I had arisen, to draw me from an error, speak a little. Where is the ice, and how is this one fixed thus upside down? And how in such short time from eve to morn has the sun made his transit? And he to me, thou still imaginest thou art beyond the centre, where I grasp the hair of the fell worm who minds the world. That side thou wast so long as I descended, when round I turned me, thou didst pass the point to which things heavy draw from every side. And now beneath the hemisphere art come opposite that which overhangs the vast dry land, and neath whose cope was put to death the man who without sin was born and lived. Thou hast thy feet upon the little sphere which makes the other face of the Judeca. Here it is morn when it is evening there, and he who with his hair a stairway made us still fixed remaineth as he was before. Upon this side he fell down out of heaven, and all the land that whilom here emerged, for fear of him made of the sea a veil, and came to our hemisphere, and peradventure to flee from him, what on this side appears left the place vacant here, and back recoiled. A place there is below, from Beelzebub as far receding as the tomb extends, which not by sight is known, but by the sound of a small rivulet, that there descendeth through chasm within the stone, which it has gnawed with course that winds about and slightly falls. The guide and I into that hidden road now entered, to return to the bright world, and without care of having any rest. We mounted up, he first and I the second, till I beheld through a round aperture some of the beauteous things that heaven doth bear. Thence we came forth to re-behold the stars. And that is the end of Inferno. We'll be doing Purgatorio next. But for now, I'll be right back.